Regardless, I remain yours sincerely, Zachary Growing.
My last video was the most difficult I've made. It wasn't difficult for the reasons you might think. I mean, it wasn't difficult for me to talk about that stuff. It was just difficult to tie all the threads together into something that felt coherent. I didn't think many people would watch it or care about it, but a lot of people did. So thank you for that. But one thing caused confusion, which was me saying that I was done with videos about trying to keep tiny seedlings alive on my rooftop. The confusion was understandable because I was pretty cryptic. Some people thought I was giving up on bonsai videos altogether. Not at all, it's just I'm done with that one particular thing. It's a good thing for making YouTube shorts and cute bonsai, but I didn't feel there was much more I could learn from doing that. I want to focus my remaining time here on something else. But I'm still on a bonsai journey, amongst other things. I consider this period of time my apprenticeship. People often say the best way to learn is by doing, or experience is the best teacher. And I don't disagree with that, but there are other ways to learn too. You can learn by actually studying, and you can learn by looking and seeing. I said I wanted to go on some different kinds of journeys, and I meant it literally. My plan, for the next little while anyway, is to go look at trees. Yongam is a town in Jeollanam-do province in Korea's southwest. It's not too far from me, so I could do it as a day trip. From my local bus terminal, I caught an intercity bus to the Yongam bus terminal. The people that have gone to the Squid Game. Yongam is a nice enough town at the base of Wolchul Mountain. The area has been inhabited since the Bronze Age, and like my own small Korean town, it has an aspiring tourism industry. But today I wouldn't have time for the Insect Museum or the Wood Culture Experience Center. I was here to see their famous Selkova. From the bus terminal, I caught the local 101 bus to the small village of Wolgokri. The bus put me down in what I guess passes for the town center, where two competing marts face each other on opposite sides of the road, neighboring the village bus stops. There isn't much there. I then set off on a short walk to the famous Selkova of Wolgokri. After a while of orienting myself with Google Maps, I realized that the best way to find a really old tree is probably to just look at the horizon, and then I saw it immediately. I'm guessing that over there might be the tree I came to see. How reliant we've become on technology. There's a lot you can learn just by using your eyes. I should explain some more about why I'm on this slightly quixotic quest. A while back, I was having a conversation with a friend here who was also starting to feel like her time in Korea was approaching an end. And she talked about bucket lists and how she had a bucket list of things she still wanted to do. There were some cities she still wanted to see, and she wanted to see the DMZ. It made me think about my own bucket list. But I'd been to those cities, and I never really wanted to see the DMZ. It doesn't interest me. Instead, my feeling was just that I didn't want to feel at the end of it that I'd wasted my time here. I wanted to be able to say, yeah, I lived in that place, and I know that place. Independently, but not completely unrelatedly, I was thinking about trees, because I think about trees. The trees of Korea are the famous trees of bonsai, because Japan and Korea have been connected by land bridges at various times in the past, so all their trees come from here. And I thought that perhaps I wouldn't have the chance to see them again, these famous trees of the Far East, so I should see them while I could. Even better, there's a list of the best of them. Korea's Cultural Heritage Administration recognizes important cultural items, and a significant number of those items are trees. But it's not just about seeing the trees. By their nature, these trees are in almost random places in Korea, so going to see them would force me to go to these random places, to catch local buses and walk in small villages and see things that I otherwise wouldn't have seen. Get out of my comfort zone and go to places that no tourist would ever bother to go and have whatever adventures I have. And then I think I can say that I saw this country and know it well. When I came to the Zelkova of Wolgokri, I was delighted to find a shamanistic ritual taking place beneath its branches. Shamanism, or less problematically Musok, is the folk religion of Korea, a polytheistic, animistic, and accumulative tradition of gods, spirits, and ancestral forces who are capricious in influencing the lives of humans and who can be interceded with by a Korean shaman, or mudang. Their presence here is no coincidence. Of the 454 recognized natural monuments in Korea, 17 are Zelkova trees. Zelkovas were traditionally planted by Koreans in village centers and were thought to be sentinels, guardians of the village who provided a good place where ancestors had rested in the shade and where their spirits perhaps still remained. It's for this reason that they tended to remain preserved and untouched, even as the native forests of Korea were steadily eroded by the collection of firewood. In the 1970s, the Semaul movement under Park Chung-hee sought to modernize rural life, including by reforesting Korea's mountains. However, this movement also presented a threat to the ancient Zelkovas of Korea's towns, which were seen as superstitious relics of a primitive past that should be removed. The reaction against this destruction, in part, led to the creation of the Register of Intangible Cultural Artifacts and the preservation of these Zelkovas. The Zelkova of Wolgokri is particularly prized because it bears a knot that is said to resemble the Buddha.
And you might ask, well, what's the connection between Buddhism and shamanism? But Korea has a tendency to sort of merge its three religions. It's Buddhism, shamanism, and Christianity. And if you've ever wondered why Korea tends to throw off new religious movements all the time, like the Moonies, that's why. The resemblance of the knot to Buddha is a bit of a stretch, but I can kind of see it.
I've been getting interested in Zelkovas lately. As bonsai, they are a lot of fun. They grow fast, have great autumn foliage colors, are capable of extraordinary ramification, and are prettier than Chinese elms, which look coarse by comparison. I've been slowly developing this one in Australia for a few years now. A year ago, I got it into this lovely small pot, which I actually bought in my first YouTube video. As is traditional in bonsai, I plan to grow it in the broom shape. I tend to be an iconoclast, so you might expect me to give a little speech about why the broom shape is no good for Zelkovas, and why we should move away from it. But actually, I kind of like it. As an abstraction of the natural look of a Zelkova, I think it's a valid interpretation. The traditional Japanese bonsai styles often represent a sort of platonic ideal of the form of a particular tree species, and reducing the natural shape of the Zelkova to this form, the arc of a circle and a straight line, this essential geometry, is interesting. That said, it's pretty limiting, and broom-style Zelkovas can certainly start to look a bit samey. You can talk about the subtle differences between them, but there is also an argument, I think, for doing something else, too. There is a variety of forms in Zelkova. The Zelkova of Wolgokri is quite traditional in its form, but it does have some directionality, too, as well as an unusually wide canopy. It does have the classic Zelkova broom style, though obviously a lot more natural. The branches go off wildly in all sorts of directions. It does have that short trunk with like a lot of branches coming out. I think the branches in real life are heavier than you would see on a bonsai. If it was a bonsai tree, people would say, wow, it really needs a cutback. It's got that one branch swooping down to the ground, which is not something you would see, I think, in a bonsai tree. As inspiration, and because I probably won't get to visit them, here are pictures of some of the other heritage-listed Zelkovas of Korea. After visiting the Walgorkri Zelkova, I made my way back to the bus stop. At the bus stop, I met this old man. He, too, had come to visit the Zelkova. He told me he had 5 trees that he visited in rotation in order to pray. He was 77 years old, he told me, and he didn't speak English because he only had an elementary school education. All he knew was ABC. He was a nice guy to wait for a bus with, and he seemed at peace with himself. I guess he had learned something about life along the way. I felt happy to have spent some time with him.